And I sat down with author Jeff Benedict in our Horizon studio.
Are today's coaches literally CEOs of million-dollar operations that at the same time have to manage students or young people that are between 18 and 23 maybe?
Well, coaches today are making salaries that are certainly comparable to CEOs. They're making $1, $2, $3, $4 million a year, which is a pretty stunning number when you think about it, because they're, in most cases, these are state employees, and so they are the highest paid state employees in their states. Mike Leach is the highest paid state employee in Washington. Nick Saban at Alabama. I mean, you go around the country and that's pretty much what you have. And at the end of the day, that revenue stream is supported by a group between 80 and 100 young men, many of whom are still juveniles when they show up on campus, who don't make a dime. And yet they're the bulwark of the money that flows not only to the coach and all of his assistants who are making $500,000 a year or whatever they're making, but the athletic director and all the other people in the system, ESPN, Nike Apparel, Under Armour, all these different individuals and corporations are making millions and billions of dollars, and the guys who are most responsible for that money are not allowed to even take $10 for an autograph. And so it's a really unusual system that's unlike any other business model in America.
Help us understand what a student-athlete's day is like.
A student-athlete's day is far more demanding than the day of a professional football player in the NFL, or a basketball player in the NBA, or a Major League Baseball player. These kids, they get up very early. People have this vision of football players laying around in bed till 10 o'clock and skipping classes and all this stuff. It's not like that today. College football players are given very regimented schedules, down to the minute. If it's a school day, meaning they have classes, then they get up early and they have meals. They have classes that are tightly structured. They have study period where they meet with tutors. All of this is scheduled in. They meet with a trainer, they meet with a conditioner, sometimes they meet with a therapist for stretching and manipulating the muscles that are, that they may have some slight injuries with. They have team meetings that they go to. The team lunch is in there somewhere, but team meetings in the afternoon. The meetings are usually a predicate to practice, then practice, and then night meal. I mean, by the time these guys get to the evening hours when they're supposed to study, they're pretty much exhausted. Now, this is on a school day. If it's a day when it's not classes and it's just football prep day, like they're traveling or it's a game day, the things that, I mean, they're literally given a schedule that is like 6:32, be here, 6:37 here. It's so regimented and so minute to minute. Their time is not their own. And the other thing that people don't realize about college football players is when the season ends, people think, okay, the season's over now, the bowl game is played, now it's January. Well, now they have some downtime because football season doesn't start again until August. The truth of the matter is football season never ends. We followed some kids for our book through the year, and one of the players we followed, a linebacker at Brigham Young University, who's an All-American this year, went home 4 days out of 365 days, the year we followed him. And those 4 days were around Christmas time. And he only lives in Reno. He goes to school in Provo, Utah. That's not like he's going, it's because he's got a long way to go. It's because his time is not his own. Now, if he was in the NFL, he'd have way more time to travel and himself and to not be in the weight room or to, not be on the field hitting people. They are controlled from the minute they sign their letter of intent to come to school till they leave after 4 years. They're owned, and their time is not theirs. And a college football player his body will take more of a beating in a year than an NFL player takes in a year. Now, the NFL players, when they hit, it's bigger, stronger, faster guys, no question about it. But they're not having as much physical contact on a day-to-day basis as a college football player.
And for this, there is little compensation. I mean, back in my day, there was something called laundry money. What are they compensated like now? Well,
they get an education, which is something. Depending on where you go to school, that has a value that ranges between $15,000 and $40,000 a year for a degree, toward a degree, and they get room, and they get board. You know, so they get their meals and a place to live. That's what they get. And some people will argue that that's fair and appropriate because they're amateurs and this is a pretty good trade-off. And those are people who either don't really understand the system or they are, or they're just not really, I think, looking at all of the other ramifications that go into being a. These rules were set up when the college football game was a lot different than it is today. I mean, when these rules were established, college football players, it wasn't a career, it wasn't a business, it wasn't a year-round proposition. It wasn't nearly as physically demanding as it is today. And so I think the rules are antiquated. The trade-off is no longer fair and appropriate, and there's got to be changes to the way we compensate players who make this commitment. There's no other sport in college that's equivalent to what a college football player is expected to do. Not the golf team, not the tennis team, not the baseball team, not the basketball team. Not saying those kids don't work hard, not saying there aren't demands on those players, but for one thing, no one can argue with the fact that the injury rate and the wreckage to the body is off the charts for football players compared to all the other sports. There's no, I don't know anyone who will argue the other side of that. And that's one of the things that I think is overlooked in this compensation debate. Everyone just talks about, well, should we pay players? You know what? You can argue about that all day long. I think what shouldn't be argued about is when these players leave the university after 4 years, over 99% of them will never earn a dime employed as professional football players. So what they've been doing at the university for 4 years is not going to translate into a job for them in that sector. There's just a fraction, less than 1%, that are actually going to earn money as football players. But everybody who's played college football, all 100% of them, will have physical ramifications for what they did for 4 years. And in fact, it's the practice players and the players who see the field the least who have the most damage to their bodies when they leave here. And then they have to pay for the medication, the therapy, the treatment, and the physical damage that's caused by this game is on them when they leave. And there's real dollar signs attached to that. And so if you're one of those guys that said, well, we shouldn't pay players while they're here, okay, fine. Don't do that. But when they leave, you ought to take care of all the medical costs that are going to ride with these guys for who knows how long. They shouldn't have to foot that bill because they can't. A lot of these guys are going to have a very low chance of getting the kind of job that's going to afford them the kind of health care coverage that they need. And all of that damage is caused by what goes on the practice field on the game day here. And so I think you've got to look at those things and stop just limiting the debate to should we pay these players.
So when we return, we'll take a look at both money and academics in the system.